Okay guys, with the news recently that Nintendo will be closing the Wii U and 3DS eShops next year in late March, I wanted to go over the top games that I like out of the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS library that you should pick up right now at this point. Now, this isn't the best games or anything like that, but it's just games that I think that aren't going to be ported over to the Nintendo Switch, that are also maybe even a little bit valuable. They have some unique experiences on the Wii U that you can only get there. And it's heavily slanted towards the Nintendo 3DS because a lot of the best games on the Wii U have already came over, with a few exceptions here and there. So I wanted to go over this first and foremost. But before we get into anything, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell. And make sure you drop a comment below. What was your favorite Nintendo 3DS or Wii U game that you played? What did you put the most time into? What did you like the most? What was your favorite memories of that? And make sure you stay tuned throughout the whole video because I've got some pretty cool games that you guys are definitely going to want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the Wii U games first, just because there's less Wii U games. Like I said, I got a whole fat stack of 3DS and Wii U games here. And I do want to make a little bit of a proclamation in the last Wii U game here. Something that has to happen. It absolutely has to happen, okay? Now that the Wii U and 3DS eShops are going away. Like, it has to happen. So Nintendo, we're going to have to get this done. But we're going to talk about that in just a bit. So Star Fox Zero. This is super cheap. At least I bought it for $5, back like a while ago. So it's super cheap, and it comes like with the Star Fox Guard if you get like the whole bundle. So yeah, but it's like the eShop, right? So you can buy it physically or you can get it digital. So whatever way, just find a way to get the game when it comes down to it. I know people hate on Star Fox Zero, and they got a lot of hate back then, but it's still a unique game that uses the gamepad a unique way, and it's still fun at certain times when it comes down to it. So yes, Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. And hopefully I don't say the Nintendo Switch, just because I've been so used to playing, Switch and everything. Next up, Zombie U. This was a launch title for the Nintendo Wii U and very unique when it comes to the gamepad usage. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed my time with Zombie U. It's essentially like a rogue game, almost kind of like a hybrid. Anytime that you die, you use a new survivor. You have to go and get your survival or belongings back. It was a lot of fun. It used like the Wii U as like a map and also radar and pinging and all that. It's fun. It's on the PS4 and Xbox One, but a lot of the personality is completely ripped out of it without the dual screen experience. And you guys know, or at least some of you guys know, I'm not a dual screen gamer guy, but this one actually did a really good job with the whole dual screen stuff. So yeah, Zombie U, go find it. It's actually pretty cheap on the Wii U eShop, and also if you want to buy it physically. So yes, there's that. Next up is a game that I know some of you guys are going to absolutely love, and that is Devil's Third on the Wii U. This is actually a super rare game, or more like one of the rare games, I should say, if I can speak clearly. One of the rare games for the Wii U out there. I don't know what new copies are going for. I'll look it up or something like that, but it's not super cheap. There wasn't a lot of these made, and it was kind of like a debacle when it came out, just because there were so many broken issues with this game. But there's some fun to be had. It just ran kind of meh, and the online was interesting, but still kind of like eh. But the single player was funny. It was really like cheesy, funny. And I remember Itagaki was hyping this up so much. Obviously, the Team Ninja Dude or the former Team Ninja Dude. So it was fun. It was fun for the time being. But yeah, Devil's Third, make sure you pick up that game as well, just for like the laughs and all that. Next up is another game that I don't think is going to come back to the Nintendo Switch in a way. I mean, I hope it does because it's a great franchise, but Deus Ex. This is a game, Deus Ex, man, like the Human Revolution Director's Cut. I want to make sure that I get the name right. Director's Cut was really good on the Wii U. Yes, some frame rate here and there, but so did the PS3 and 360 versions. Okay, this game was really good, and it used the gamepad in such a great way with the maps and like being able to plot out your stealth and everything. Oh my gosh, I had so much fun playing this game on the Wii U, and they did a great job with the port of it, outside of a few little things here and there. But graphically it looks good, and the gamepad usage is fantastic. It actually makes it my favorite version of the game, because I was a big Deus Ex fan, and then it kind of just like went away after like the last game. So hopefully it comes back on the Nintendo Switch. I think this game would be really good, but it would lose some of the personality without the dual gamepad plays. Now, last but definitely not least, for the Wii U games. And like I said, there's more than this. There's other games, there's Nintendo Land and stuff like that, and I get all those for unique experiences. But this game, Xenoblade Chronicles X. This game needs to happen now on the Switch. There's like no other way. Like I talked about this at the beginning when I kind of like foreshadowed this. It's like Nintendo has to put Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Switch now. Like you cannot leave a game of this caliber stuck on the Wii U. And yes, this is a brand new copy of the game. I have the special edition, I have the digital edition, and I also have the regular copy of the game, the English US mature copy, or no, teen copy of the game. So yes, this has to come to Nintendo Switch now. Like there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think that it's going to happen. There is no way a game this good gets left on the Wii U from Nintendo first party wise. Like you can talk about Nintendo Land and what that game does and all that, but this game, especially with Xeno 3, and I get it, people have been asking me about that, and I 100% understand it. Like I completely get it. I'm getting kind of tired of the questions and all that, but still, I'm talking about it right here and right now in this video. So I'm going to reference this video anytime somebody asks me if Xenoblade Chronicles X is coming to Nintendo Switch. It has to, because you cannot leave it on the Wii U, especially with the Wii U eShop dying out. So there's that. Now, those are all the Wii U games, guys. Of course, I want to hear your thoughts. What other Wii U games are your must-owns, are your must-gets? And of course, there's the Virtual Console. Let's not forget that. For those who love crusty Virtual Console games, they're all there for you. Pick those up. Pick up the best ones. I made a video recently talking about what Virtual Console, actually, no, I didn't make a video, but I talked about a little bit like with Mario Bros and other stuff like that. So get all the classics, get all the good stuff that you want. If you want them, you know, pick up all of those. So yeah, that's already been there, done that. I want to talk about some of like the box games, the big games when it comes down to it. Next up, the 3DS stuff, man. And this is kind of like a whole jumbled mix of stuff, right? I think that there's no order in terms of what you get it. You just get all this stuff when you can. I'm going to start out with a game that I actually really like quite a bit, and that is Kid Icarus Uprising. This is actually one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Nintendo 3DS game outside of Fire Emblem Awakening. Fire Emblem Awakening, that's a great game, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But Kid Icarus Uprising, very unique game to Nintendo 3DS. Of course, it had a really weird way of playing, like with the stand and all that. That's why this box is as big as it is, because it comes like with the stand to play the game because of the controls. But that's pretty much the only issue with this game, are the controls. I got used to it by playing with the buttons to be the camera, but that's not great. But hey, it's better than me using the stylus all day, just because my hands are too big for stylus play. But this has great customization, great online play, great content. It's just like a fully featured game. It's so good. And Masahiro Sakurai made this game himself. He was part of it with Team Sora. So yeah, man, I really, really, really recommend Kid Icarus Uprising. Pick up that game before you can't anymore, and before it becomes too expensive. Physical. Next up, Metroid Samus Returns. You know, this is a game that many people felt that Nintendo might bring over to the Switch. Nope. Still stuck on the Nintendo 3DS. It's a remake of Metroid 2, the Game Boy game. And it's a really good remake of the game, in my opinion, at least. They add a bunch of stuff, but this game even gets weirder because there is a mode locked behind an amiibo, which makes the amiibo even more valuable than the game. But the game already shot up in value after Metroid Dread was announced. Like, nobody cared. The game was like $10. It was cheap. And then Metroid Dread was announced, and boom, that skyrocketed. It doubled, tripled, quadrupled the price right then and there. And now that's kind of rare at this point because people didn't buy it when it was available. And then if you have that amiibo, which I do have the amiibo sealed, which has the hyper mode, that's going for like $200 plus for that. So pick up a physical copy if you can, but if you can't, pick up the digital copy since the eShop is going away. Remember, this video is also to tell you guys about games, you know, that could also be rare physically because the eShop is going away, because a lot of these physical games are going to shoot up in value because of that. Now, next up, we got some dual Pokemon games to talk about here, and that is Pokemon X and Y. This is the X version. I don't know where my Y version is. It's somewhere around here, but I just wanted to grab one of them. So Pokemon X and Y, that generation. This was the first time that they went to the Nintendo 3DS, and it looked incredible. It still looks pretty good even today. Like when you boot it up and play it, and you start seeing those 3D models for the first time, you're like, wow, that looks really good. And then next up is Pokemon Sun. Pokemon Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon. I highly suggest the Pokemon games. They're always good to pick up. They're always worth a lot later, or if you just want to play them, Pokemon, bank it up, transfer. You never know what they're going to do later in the future. So getting the Pokemon games is always a good idea. And of course, getting it on the eShop, you know, if you can. But these games always shoot up in value. Even if you have like the DS games, those shoot up in value. So I highly recommend picking up the Pokemon games while you can, or at least getting them digitally if you can. All right, guys, we're going to continue on with the games here because we've got a double pack of what to get. Bravely Default, Bravely Second End Layer. People were thinking that when Bravely Default 2 came to the Nintendo Switch that they were going to port over these games. No, they're not going to port over these games just because they're on the 3DS. And the way that they're made are just so crusty at this point. But this is the special edition of Bravely Default. It's really cool. Obviously, it's hard to get this, but you can get the eShop game and play it, especially if you're looking to get into Bravely Default on the Nintendo Switch. Bravely Default 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Very good game. There's some issues here and there, but still very good game. And then Bravely Second End Layer, also a good game. Maybe not as good as the first game, but still a good game. And playing these two games will definitely give you a little bit more of a perspective on Bravely Default 2 if you haven't gotten to that on the Nintendo Switch yet, which is a bit cheaper. It's not $60. So if you want to get into the Bravely series, this is the time to do it. Pick it up on the 3DS, whether you can get them physical or you get them digital. So you have that because they're going to go away at some point. And I'll be sad because they might not port those games over to Nintendo Switch. I don't think that they're going to. I think they're just going to leave them there. They're just going to die with the system. And if you have it physical, you have it physical. Now, last but definitely not least, it's my favorite franchise on the Nintendo 3DS. And I always pick up the games and I'm always happy to play the games. And that is the Fire Emblem games. Of course, I have all of them here. And of course, the other ones I do have. I have Birthright, I have Conquest, I have all that. But they're all here. This one's Conquest. I have Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, and I have Fire Emblem Awakening, where it kind of all started it. The trio of Fire Emblem games. And I highly recommend these, one, because they always kind of go rare. Two, Fire Emblem games always get rare. If you have like Path of Radiance from the GameCube and stuff like that. And they're just really good games on the Nintendo 3DS. So I highly recommend the Fire Emblem games and picking these ones up on the eShop because they're great games. And if you can't get them on the eShop, if you can find them physical, or if you don't want to get them on the eShop, I should say, get them physical, you definitely should do so because they're really good games. But those are my games that I have, what you should pick up on the Nintendo 3DS and also on the Wii U. And once again, I mean, I just want to point to this again one more time. Xenoblade Chronicles X, I think that now this kind of proves this has to come over at this point. Nintendo, there's no way Nintendo's going to do this, right? I mean, they could. Nintendo's been cold-blooded at times when it comes to stuff like Mario and all that, man. Like, they've been cold-blooded at times. They might do it, but to me, it just kind of says like, hey, they're going to bring over at least Xenoblade Chronicles X now that this Wii U eShop and now that this 3DS shop is going down. I mean, all of these 3DS games and all of that, like, I don't know what they're going to do with those. Like, talking about like the aftermath of all this, like, I don't know what they're going to do with those because 3DS emulation is probably a thing, but it's probably not going to be till next gen. That's what I would think. I don't think Nintendo's going to emulate the 3DS games on this current gen with the Nintendo Switch. So I think that 3DS emulation is probably a gen off, which would help with the prices not skyrocketing like crazy, but it's probably going to be something that they add to the Nintendo Switch Online next generation. I think eventually the NSO and NSO Plus will have most of the systems, but it's not going to have anywhere near amount of the games. They just can't make all of these games available because of the sheer number of games and manpower that it would take to get all this stuff over compared to how many people would actually buy it is just not enough. So pick up what you can when you can. Obviously, it would be great if they just kept the Wii U and 3DS eShops around just so we don't have to worry about this, but it is what it is. The Wii shop closed, so I'm expecting this one at some point. I remember talking about this last year on my stream when the whole PS3 and all that drama was going on, and I was like, hey, look, they're going to do that with Nintendo at some point for like the Wii U and 3DS, and when it does, it happens, you know? So now's the time, you know, well, it's next year, 2023, late March, but these are the games that I think that you should pick up that are unique and that are cool, that were some of my favorite games on these platforms. I have a lot of memories. I have thousands of hours, 3,000 hours plus beyond with the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS based on my Nintendo memories that Nintendo put together that site for us. So it's not like I didn't support the system. It's not like I wasn't out there buying the games. And even if you look at like virtual console stuff and all that, there's so much more on there that I bought on my Wii U and I bought on my Nintendo 3DS over the decade plus that I've had these systems, because I got both of them right at launch. You know, I got both of them right at launch and was supporting from day one. So it sucks to see them go. But at the same time, it's something that I already knew was going to happen. I just personally, me, myself, I don't feel that I'm always going to get everything that I want no matter what. So for me, it sucks, and I understand it for the game preservation stuff, but it is what it is. But what do you guys think, man? Like, I think that these are some of the best games Obviously, I'm happy with the Switch and how things have kind of worked out. I'm more comfortable with the system. I think it's a better system and it has better games. But you can't forget where you came from. You can't forget the classics. This was the era before Nintendo got to where they were. What do you guys think about all this, though? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.